So we're here with Pat McCutcheon out on his farm. Paddy, how long have you been on a farm for?
Shaz, thank you for welcoming me to my own farm. It's quite nice of you. I came back to our family farm about 5 to 6 years ago. Before that I was in Sydney. I was fortunate enough to play a bit of representative football and have that experience, but then I think the drawback to come back to a farm and have that sort of lifestyle with my young family was a real draw card for me.
Yeah, and that's how we met, is through rugby, and you've been all over the world to some really exotic places, and what I love about that is that you've come back to where you're from. And what's the draw in coming back home?
Yeah, in saying that, look, I was born and bred in Narromine, and to come back here, it seems a little bit surreal that you've had all these experiences and you finally come back to where you started. But as you suggested, yeah, I was fortunate enough to play a bit of Australian Sevens and Waratahs and Super Rugby and bits and pieces, and yeah, we've got to go to some amazing destinations across the globe in global tournaments such as the Olympics and Commonwealth Games, and I think you draw from all those experiences, but home is still home, and that's where the heart is.
So Pat, what is it that you're farming here?
We're predominantly crops. We have a winter crop program and a summer crop program. In the summertime, we're fortunate enough to grow cotton when we've got groundwater and river water. That's split between sort of two pathways, which is flood irrigation using siphons and sprinkler irrigation and with pivots and laterals. In the winter time, we've got a variety of crops such as wheat, canola, barley, chickpeas, lupins, fava beans, depending on a little bit of the economic cycle as well, but then also a bit of a rotation within, making sure you're looking after disease and pest management within crops.
How do you get all that done? Like, you know, what kind of help or what assistance do you have to actually do that?
Yeah, well, if you talk to most farmers, you know, there's no downtime. Unfortunately, the summer crop and the winter crop program sort of overlap by a couple of months either end, whether it's sowing or harvesting those crops. So time is really important for what we do, and time management and being cost effective in that space is really important.
But what other things, like, have you used any sort of technology on the farm to help you with this kind of overload?
Yeah, you see technology within farming and farming and agriculture has boomed, especially in the last sort of 10 to 15 years. Precision agriculture through GPS guidance and efficiencies within that space is just gone gangbusters. One of the things I've been personally using is my drone.
Yeah.
For me, if I can check something or view something in a shorter amount of time, you know, I'm paying myself, so therefore it's money saved, and being more efficient in that space is something that I really have enjoyed.
Yeah, well, I know how important time is, and especially for farmers. I went through a drone course, Drones in Ag, through Tocal and with Ben Watts, and you also did that course.
Yes.
And so doing that course, had you piloted a drone before that?
No, before that course I actually hadn't owned a drone or piloted a drone, so I actually went and did the training and learned how to fly. And then fortunately New South Wales Farmers had a program with DGI, and I purchased a drone for agriculture kit. Gave me a nice little hard box and whatnot, so I can throw it in the back of the ute and I don't damage it. But before that I hadn't experienced anything with a drone, to be honest.
And having that support, you know, would you have gone out and bought the drone, or was that support coming from New South Wales Farmers essential?
I had the concepts in my mind on how I would like to use a drone and how that would help efficiencies and time and viewing things that you potentially can't see from the ground. But the little bit of legislation and I suppose safety and laws that go around owning a drone, I wouldn't have known that or learnt that unless I did those courses. And you know, I'm grateful for I did it, because now I'm sort of, you know, doing it by the book and not disrupting any feathers anywhere.
Yeah. Well, you're relatively a young farmer. You've been on the land. What would you say, like, if there were older generational farmers and weren't really used to the digital technology, what do you think would be essential for them getting a drone up on their property? Who could help them out, or, you know, potential careers or opportunities for young kids out in the country?
Yeah, look, I have to say my dad's a prime example of that. He's a little bit, you know, by the book and got the blinkers on, and I can't send him a text message on the phone. It's call only or on the two-way, and I think that's a little bit narrow-minded in that space, and I'd love to see the older generation sort of take it by the horns and learn and be adaptive. But in saying that, as you suggested, I think there's a great opportunity in that workspace and contractual, bringing people in there that have that knowledge and the ability to use drones in that space are really beneficial to your farming practices. I know, if it rains here, I physically can't drive down the paddock to check my tail water.
Yep.
So whether I need to turn a pump on or off, I can't tell that unless I physically go there. Beauty of a drone, I can just send it up from my backyard, fly over, visually have a view of where the tail water is, fly back, my ute stays tidy, I don't get wet, I don't get cold, and I can be having a cup of tea at the same time.
Yeah, I guess having eyes in the sky across all of those paddocks and the ability to be able to check them, pretty much being within a certain distance and range, but actually not having to go all that way and all that time to actually check it.
Yeah, safety is definitely a part of it. When you're playing in wet weather conditions, it can be a little bit tricky. But I also love the ability that from ground level, looking across the field, you can only sort of see 40 to 50 metres through or into the depth of that paddock. But if you've got a paddock that's 400 hectares big, you're a kilometre by half a kilometre wide, you can't see what's in the middle of that field, and having that ability to get up at height and look down on it from another perspective changes your perspective on that field and what your practice and management might be in that moving forward.
Sustaining a farm and the efficiency of it all, like I met you 4 years ago and you were in a harsh drought, I remember the red dirt, and now we've had this crazy weather systems where flooding is rife across many paddocks and many farmers. How are you managing that? What's your strategies, and how do you manage that going forward? Is it from past experiences, what's happening? But you can't predict it all the time.
No, it's very difficult to predict what's going to happen in the future. Planning ahead, there is a percentage of gambling within farming, as in the unknown in it. You can only draw really on past experiences, and we're a big believer that you've got to roll the dice pretty hard, and what comes out of it is only what you put in. So yeah, the droughts were harsh, and you made cuts and changes to your farming practices within that space, but then also when it flooded, I remember taking the kids to school and we got to a water crossing and we're like, do we drive through this or do we not? And, the kids had a week off of school, but I wasn't going to take that risk.
Yeah.
And so, you can only do what the card you dealt at that particular time.
So Pat, you're a cotton farmer. You also do grains, seeds. What size is your cotton farming?
The cotton makes up about 500 hectares. To put that into visualisation, that's about 500 football fields. Our winter crop program is probably 4,500 to 5,000 hectares.
Yeah, right.
So that's 4,500 to 5,000 football fields put together. So it takes a bit of time and a bit of space to get across, but it's normal out here.
So in terms of farming, is that a small farm, or are you where are you sitting?
For our location in New South Wales, it's a relatively normal sized farm in the Macquarie Valley. Obviously depending on whether you have river water and groundwater, gives you that ability to irrigate, which gives you the ability to grow cotton. So there is a little bit of fluctuation in that, but around as size of farms and whatnot, we're in the middle.
So in the past, how long would it take you to do what you do with cotton farming with the traditional methods, and then how can you then change that with the drone technology? What are you saving in terms of your time, cost effectiveness, traditional versus relevant?
Traditional works. Traditional because it's worked for a long time, and that's what makes it traditional. The drone has probably added a level to that traditional practice where we're now being able to be more efficient with our water management and time management. And so an example of that might be with our flood irrigation. You throw a siphon over the bank, which is flooding water down a field that's on a gradient. You can actually look from the top and see where the water is on that field. Previously, you would just drive down the tail drain, looking at each row to make sure the water's come down. If you get a hole or a break in the bank or something like that, you're not watering for over watering, so therefore you're getting water logging and things like that. So you're getting also efficiency in your water, but you're also getting better water usage for your crop in that time. Where previously we didn't have that technology, we didn't have that visual, so it allows us to make better decision making with our practice.
Yeah, so it really is another fantastic tool in the toolbox, so to speak, as would a tractor be on your farm. The sustainable practice is working out how and when the water is being wasted or being used to good use.
Yeah, most definitely. Cotton industry's water efficiency has gone through the roof in the last 20 years, and we're probably one of the most efficient nations in the world at the moment. And I think you were saying earlier around traditional farming, a drone just adds another level to it, and it adds another level to that decision making in your practice. And farming is all around making good decisions that help out with your efficiency, your cost effective, and that is just another tool in your toolbox. And you can still operate without it, but I think the more information allows you to make better quality decisions.
Well, thanks, Pat. Thanks for having me out here on your farm.
No, thank you very much for having me, and I hope that I've shone a bit of knowledge on you and your team, and always welcome back.